just to give you a little warning of what we're looking to achieve here today. We met at the old fateful TNT Super Night, not the market, but the Thursday night tradition investment meetup. And basically, go into the journey of basically what's happened in your life since then. Oh God. Right? Like a little Cole's notes, summarize however you choose.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Then like maybe a little bit of talking about the art and science of snacking, right? Like everybody does it for a million different reasons, and let's try to get to the nucleus of why and how to do it better. And then basically the reason I'm showing you this is because I want to give you a chance to talk about anything you want to talk about, whatever that may be, current events, anything, new show, question, like a little chance for you to put me in the hot seat here.
Nice.
And that's kind of the journey, I guess. I haven't been good at like the formal introduction process. Basically, all I've come up with for you is basically you're our fearless leader at Seven Summit Snacks, which is why you're wearing the vest. And for our guests, because we're already cruising now.
Okay, amazing.
We're just gonna
edit it.
we're just gonna find our rhythm. Kristyn Carriere, fearless leader, Seven Summit Snacks. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tom.
Pleasure. Thank you for coming and doing this on a family day. In a way, I feel we are family.
Yeah, you're like the brother that I haven't had when we met so many years ago now. And it's crazy. It's like over 5 years ago now, because our incorporation date is like next week or something like that.
So
this is like 5-year official birthday is coming up.
Nice. So, I was thinking about that on the way over here. I was like, I think it was around this time that everything kind of kickstarted, but I feel like it wasn't this cold when we first met.
No, I think we probably met in, I moved back to Canada in July of 2019. We had already primed Kristyn, and so I'm going to assume that we probably met in September, October of 2019.
Yeah, like startup week.
Yeah. Oh, sure. If that's the thing. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Like how the Startup Edmonton was doing that big startup week. I think it still goes on. Like the whole city of Edmonton gets down behind it. I think it was kind of during that wave of things.
Yeah.
TNT, I'd met Kristyn like a month or so earlier. And she's like, you got to meet Kristyn. She's cool. And then you kind of told me the origin story of Seven Summit Snacks. And now you had an epiphany one night. And you're like, I've been trying to figure out how to take my sister Leanna, who's the first Canadian female decathlete's wishes of how do you make nutrition for sports tasty and functional. Yeah. You're like, I'm very interested in this. I've been doing this my entire life. The chocolate scientist. That's why you got the Steve Jobs look going today. And then basically taking that idea of like, okay, the world has all these things to offer as far as nutrients, foods go, the Seven Summit Snacks, let's pull a little inspirations from everywhere. Yeah. Your foundation of chocolate. And then it was build a website, get the branding, kind of launch the first iteration of it all. And then it's, tell me the journey from that day to today.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like, it feels like maybe not a lot has happened, but it's, when you think about all the little milestones we've achieved, it's like, it's big, and we should be proud, and like the team should be proud about this. Did a crowdfunding campaign where we oversubscribed, and then based on your glorious website, which we always get wonderful feedback on, and then it's our packaging, and we really put together an iconic looking pack from the get-go, because I knew in such a crowded space we couldn't launch with just a brown bag with a sticker on it. So it's based on my experience, we had to show up looking bigger than we were. And I think that's kind of how we come across as a business. We look bigger and better than we actually are underneath the covers.
I don't know. I think that's the idea of building a brand, right? Like, what are we trying to achieve ultimately? And your finite resources, bootstrapping, doing all of the things that makes starting a company really challenging is there's all these things we want to do, and you have to really prioritize what can we do, what absolutely has to be done. And it wasn't a brown bag, but the first one was literally that tinfoil kind of package with a sticker on it. And I don't think there's any shame in that.
Oh, no.
It's, I just want to get this in someone's hands. It's not like a and like a naked chocolate bar, right? Like, hey, sorry, but like get that taste in it. It's one of those products that, as I've just given it to everyone, like obviously it's designed with the athlete in mind as far as giving them the nutrients and energy they need to do whatever. But everyone you give it to is like, this is the best tasting chocolate I've had, period, right? Like sports nutrition aside, it's just delicious chocolate.
As a chocolate bar, exactly.
Which is always exciting to like hear about from people. I guess, launched the brand, built the website, started doing e-commerce sales, led into getting in some distributors. Well, I guess before the distributors, it was going into the grassroots kind of running stores, like those people building a lot of support. And I think you've gotten to about 100 before really bringing on the big distributors. So you bootstrapped your way into 100 stores, which is, I think, when you talk about success and all that stuff, I think is remarkable.
During COVID, when you couldn't always just like go to someone's store and be like, hi, because for the first 6 months of our launch, it was cold emails. And then good luck if you're sending from a 7summitsnacks@gmail.com account, it's going to go in the right place.
Totally. Like, COVID was just such a crazy time. And it's like, I almost forget it happened.
Right? I know. I think because we're so far from that now and the world has changed, but it's gone back. It's elastic. It's went forward. It came back a little bit, but things have changed. But I think some of our early success in really getting to that 100 stores was an old-fashioned road trip that Jason and I did. We drove to Victoria and back twice and stopped at every little town we could and looked up the running and cycling and hiking stores and cafes that had a mountain theme. And we're like, hi, do you want to buy our chocolate? Like, we're like selling Girl Guides.
Totally.
And I think what's really funny about that, and I don't know, like, if I challenged Jen said we should ask Cam how he would approach this. Would he do that? Would someone with like Jason and I come from a time where we had to like fundraise for sports, and so like going to door and asking for money was like part of our youth and formative, like I never thought about that before, but like that's what we had to do, and that's how we got the best conversion into those stores, because the owners were meeting us and then they're like, oh, okay, they know what they're talking about. And sometimes I talk about the science of the product, and sometimes Jason talks about it from a coaching perspective, and between the two of us, I speak runner, he speaks bike shop, like like there's different languages there that we're both familiar with. So like that one-on-one really helped us get going. And so and I think that kind of strategies worked well for us. So as we grow, like you alluded to, we're going to get into the States, we're going to try and get bigger in Eastern Canada. It's find those like bread and butter grassroots stores first, where we can talk to a real owner who has a decision they can
and
make.
A pulse on that market more locally, which as you're learning and trying to figure out how to expand into these markets, I think it's you want to figure out who knows how these people are slightly different, because then you can prioritize, okay, that market, maybe like 6 months from now, we want to penetrate that because we need this certain resources to go in and do it effectively versus,
And like you said, like we, in the last year, so at the start of 2024, we got listed with 2 distributors that helped us out from a national perspective. And that really helped our sales last year. We had a great growth year because of that. But the stores we ended up with were, we'd have 1 or 2 boxes on the shelf and the product might be in the wrong place on the shelf because we didn't go and make those relationships. Even though I thought I trained the sales teams well, at the end of the day, when you're trying to sell in a new product and they have a choice between an $8 bar or a $4 bar, well, they're just going to take the $4 bar and put it in the shelf where the $8 bar should be. And we've had our product mismanaged that way in the last year. So when we think about how 2025 and beyond is going to look for us, it's like, no, I've got to go back to the basics. I've got to go back to our super core consumer and talk to those mom and pop shops that exist all over the world and be like, hey, Girl Guide style, buy my chocolate.
And here's the interesting caveat that I think I bring to the table of the Seven Summits brand is just like, maybe those stores actually aren't stores that are you walk into. They might be someone on Amazon or someone that's selling e-commerce products that are totally related that may have $1 million a month in revenue that you just wouldn't even think of because, like our generation, I kind of loop us together because we're about the same age. And you talking about going door to door as children really just like brought back a wave of memories. Like one of my biggest claims to fame as a child was in 2nd grade. They had those entertainment books. Yeah. And I had this one kid in our class, like everybody that went to school in our generation did. There was the one kid whose mom like worked for like the school board or something, you know, and like he would always win like a brand new bike at the end of the competition. And one year I was like, not like this is our time, right? Rallied up all of my buddies and one Saturday morning, like hit the pavement, 7 a.m. Just 6 of us probably to start. By the end of the day, there were about 10 or 12 of us like walking all around Mill Woods, going into people's homes.
Yeah, exactly. Could you imagine? I used to do that too.
Yeah. And they're like making us snacks and like doing whatever. Anyway, we were out all day like until the sun went down almost. And my mom was like, what happened to my child? Like called the cops. Like there was a big search party like going on for like Tom and the gang, like trying to hustle our entertainment books. And I don't know, this must have been like early stages of my entrepreneurial like journey where I was like, you know, like maybe people don't want to buy the full book. Oh. Right? So now I started like making partial orders for like the book to try and like get people in at a lower entry point. Anyway, by the end of the day, one kid had stepped on glass and he was barefoot because we were like literally just walking through the neighborhood.
Like the early 90s.
Yeah, anyone that's outside, like, hey, like we're going selling, right? Like come on down. And it is interesting. Yeah, having that experience in our lives because like Cam, he better appreciate this because I went and he ended up getting a job doing stuff for a mechanic shop in Edmonton because I just went in and was like, hey guys, like I don't know what's going on here exactly, but like I'm Tom and I'm looking to figure out how we can get involved, and that opens doors. Yeah. The technology, it's beautiful. Yeah. Right? In its way,
it's so useful
to connect us and like you're overseas doing something for work or I'm in Bali and like we can connect and like kind of have face to face. Yeah. But nothing replaces sitting down, like feeling the energy or doing it this way, right? Like there's nothing like that I feel the newer generation is more very much digital first. Like get palms are sweaty as soon as the idea of just like just walk in there and introduce yourself and say, hey, ask questions.
I love it.
Cool. So I guess this year, big year, 7 Summit Snacks.
Yeah, this is our mulligan year. Like last year was meant to be a big year. We still had a big year last year, but we just fell so flat because our manufacturing won.
Yeah, manufacturing. I feel like you're finally getting a handle on like, and I guess this is a big piece of the conversation I'd like to touch on is just, obviously women entrepreneurs. Yeah. Big thing in the world these days. To be honest, like, as a dude, I think we should all have equal footing and like
I totally
realistically.
Agree. Yeah.
Because one of my mentors actually tells me that he's like, women make the best executives, right? Like he already believes that. So that's not really the focus that I want to do. Yeah. Is like being a woman, like obviously commendable. And like, I know you have a lot of support from the community because you're a woman entrepreneur, but the mom aspect I think is even more important to highlight because just women are badasses in life. Like there's no doubt about it in my mind. Like I'm surrounded by a lot of really great women, but like the idea of trying to juggle raising a child while doing that is where I think the real like hats off to you because it's just a lot to like be responsible for this child 24 hours a day, like while trying to like hop on a call. So maybe just take me into like how that's changed your life and how you tackle being a mom and business owner.
I think there's like 2 aspects of it. One is the business like operations, like you said, like I have to take a call, do a pitch, whatever, go to a trade show halfway across the world, but I have a little being with me now. And it's not that I don't have support for that. I do. Jason's amazing. However, I feel like the mental burden, and sometimes maybe this is like mothers just, or women in general, just think they can do it better. So then we just do it better rather than asking for help. So or like I expect you to read my mind and know that I'm struggling, but of course you can't.
Yeah. Like, sometimes you can see it. Like,
but like,
watching
I feel like the way in which a lot of women, and I'm going to say mothers, prioritize their thoughts in their brains. The woman comes like, she comes down the list somewhere. And in my experience, and this is, I'm sure this is the same for many women, but not for all, it's like, okay, how does my child need to be looked after first? And then what can I do to make it easier for my partner or person who is going to be looking after the child so I can do the thing that I want to do? And then let's make sure they have everything in place to do what they need to do without my effort. And then, okay, maybe I'll prepare for the thing that I'm supposed to be preparing for now. So like, I find that and that's where I'm like falling behind in a lot of things, where like my momentum was a lot faster before because it was job, running, and boyfriend.
And more job.
Exactly, and more job. But now I throw a tiny human in there who takes far much more effort and time than I had probably prioritized.
And
or
patience.
In patience, and like, thank God he's an easy baby.
Yeah.
But like my niece is a little more challenging, but my son is like he's a good, nice gift for us.
Yeah.
Just that hierarchy of thinking before you can even be present in the moment for what, or even try and prepare for it.
Right. So
there was that trend going around the other week where it's like I took my former self or younger self out to coffee, and I opened with my whatever 20-year-old self was 5 minutes early because I used to be like on the ball.
Yeah.
And I was 5 minutes late coming here today. Like now I'm like 10 minutes late for everything. I've turned into that person just because I have so much going on in my life.
Yeah.
So I think it's like juggling all of that is something you don't account for when you want to be a planned person and think you're going to do this. But at the same time, like, you just have to make it happen.
Right.
And so, yeah, have I done a pitch with my son just like on the side on the floor and I'm like dangling some chocolate in front of him? Yes.
Yeah.
Did I fly around the world, like fly to England with him because it was going to be maybe marginally easier for me to look after them than my partner for what he had to do in a week? Yes. Like, it's bonkers to think that I did that, but I did. And
yeah, it's interesting. Like, yeah, obviously it's chaotic, right? Trying to juggle it, but at the same time, it almost doesn't give you any time to like sit there, like stew over things. So you're like constantly working in like this natural flow state. Yeah. Because there's no time to like, meeting. Like, I'm 5 minutes early, start to overthink about it. Yeah. Like, what am I trying to do? It's no, like, I've got you, and then, hey, like, great, and then hold on just second, like, Isaac, here's
that over-analyzing comes at night when everyone else has gone to bed.
Totally.
And then the battle is trying to keep it away.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't even, like, creep in. Or do you just, like, lean into it and let it explode? And there's been times where I just do that, and I'll just try and, like, you've seen I have a wall of sticky notes in my basement. That's for those times. Versus like, sometimes I'll maybe use some melatonin. I'll have a glass of wine, like just to kind of be like, get out of this brain space right now if I have any chance of sleeping.
Otherwise I have that problem too where like the day is always just managing people, I think. Like you're, okay, this is what's coming at me here. This is what's coming at me from there. And then at night around like 10 o'clock, it just starts to flood me until like I'm up until 5 a.m. when my fiance is going to work. And I'm just like, okay, like, good morning. Right? Like, do that sort of thing. And I don't mind doing that, to be honest. Like, sometimes there's a lot of value. Like, I know I don't have children. So, like, then at 10 a.m. when the child, like, I can usually, like, have a little nap if I need to. Like, not having that is where, like, need to dive into your mind on this, because like the mother part is really where you're like, oh yeah, like that's like a genuine challenge right there. Like, sure, glass ceilings, all these things, those are challenges, but like not having enough in the tank to then figure out how to become the most efficient version of yourself, right? And finding those little hacks along the way where it's like, I got sticky notes in the basement because I know there's a certain point when I'm getting flooded with ideas that like, I just got to go put it down there, and then I can let it go, and then I know it's there and can come back, because there's a lot of dynamics that you're dealing with of like, do you go vertical on this business and build your own manufacturing place? And then if you're going to do that, like what money needs to be there? Who are the other people that maybe get involved to like, okay, we got the US that's right in our radar. We got 25% potential tariffs. Like who knows how that are going to affect life and just trade in general between Canada and the US to like, now I want to go secure a manufacturer down there even more so, just in case things get a little squirrely. That, anytime you have like a meaningful insight about any one of those things, it's easy to not document it. And I have a million ideas that have just accepted or gone. Because I trust that the ones that are really worth it will come back.
They come back, for sure they come back. Exactly.
But sometimes not when you want them.
Yep,
right?
That's true.
It's like 6 months after, I was like, dang, like that thing that I was thinking about, like I needed it now, which is where the dump comes. And then it's, okay, I guess understanding and expecting that like you do have all this time that's like, okay, Isaac first. Right? I know if he's cool, he'll be cool for me. Right? Then Jason, what's going on with you? Like, how can I support you? To then realize, like, you only do have this much time at the end that you don't want to waste it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the highest priorities, and obviously you've been building a nice team here. Like, my family is getting more integrated. My nephew's been doing some good things. We've got salesperson in Austin. We've got new growth strategists joining the team. We've dealt with, and I guess we should give a shout out to the universities and colleges of Edmonton.
Like Nate and Graham McEwen and the U of A, who also, they help make these little projects happen for us. And mostly they work, sometimes they don't, and that's okay.
I think that's like the big piece is like, going through this journey of bringing on interns and training them with you, and like, that. I always was I didn't like school when I was younger. Like, I think I found a healthy relationship with it as I got older. I just didn't think there was like something for me in like the university program of like, okay, this is what I'm trying to do. Maybe now I would have been like finance or but the marketing creative side, I really wanted to explore while like teach me how to run a business. But then you do all these group projects. And I think that's where like the group projects really trained me for like, oh, like these are people with like their own way of understanding the way I give instruction, to how they interpret it, how they do it, maybe what they said on their resume versus who they truly are. Like there's some gaps between like, this is the real challenge I have right now with AI is just everyone you deal with has the right answer. You know? Like, it doesn't matter.
At surface.
Surface, surface, they start throwing out the right answers because you're like, and then you're like, okay, like what am I searching for within here to like understand like who I'm actually dealing with? Because you could not speak English and throw anything you want into ChatGPT and it spits it out perfectly for me. And then it's like, oh, we jump on a call, I start to see things, and then like that's where the holes start to come up, which is going to be a challenge, I think, because already the onboarding journey of life for a lot of companies is very intensive and costs a lot of resources to a company to be like, okay, hiring manager now, okay, you've made it through this one, like let's get you in front of like the team, and maybe there's 2 or 3 of those depending on the company to like, wall of 300 of these perfect resumes coming in.
Right.
Crazy. So anyway, back to the US. Big plans this year.
Big plans. We want to do US. I think we're going to do UK as well, and launch a new product and storm Eastern Canada. There's like 4 growth areas and road to grow. Like we want to triple the e-commerce business. So there's 5 tracks that I'd like to dip our hands into this year, and I think we know how to start them all. I think I know how to start them all, and then just finding them is always the tricky part. So.
Totally. Well, I was just thinking, the U.S. interesting world right now. Like,
for sure.
I'm almost like, people are really not about what's going on between our two countries, that I'm like, Canadians, if you could step up here and just start buying a lot of chocolate, like
yeah, absolutely.
Maybe we just stay in Canada.
Yeah.
And which is tough for me because I'm both, right? And I feel
the struggle. Yeah.
The struggle of it all. Like I feel like I'm being alienated up here by my American roots, but that's okay. I guess. Is there anything else we should talk about when it comes to Seven Summit Snacks, your journey, where we're trying to take it?
I think it's like I listened to a podcast this last week, and I listened to How I Built This. I've been listening to it for a long time, and I seem to find episodes like a little bit serendipitously, and so I hadn't listened to it for a while. I drove to Calgary and back on Wednesday to do a pitch, and on my way down, I found the Athletic Brewing one and listened to the story of Athletic Brewing. And I was like, oh, there's so many parallels.
Totally.
Like, this guy wants to start a business because he believes he can redefine this space that's totally, like, in negative decline of non-alcoholic beer. But he believes there's a total new, he's seeing it as, like, white space category. Kind of like and I use this a little bit sometimes when we talk, too. It's like, what we're doing and like what the product we've created, it doesn't exist. Like there's chocolate bars out there, and yes, there's functional energy bars out there and gels, but not as chocolate. And so like rethinking, and that's where that epiphany you were saying that I had is like, it was like, it's chocolate. Chocolate's the answer. Like, how do we talk about that a little bit more in a compelling way for people to kind of like get behind this? Because again, I'm going to say 99% of the people we speak to that try the product think not only that it's good. They're like, no, this is really good. Like the face.
Totally.
So
it's shocking.
I have total belief in the product. And you're supposed to as an entrepreneur. You can't not.
Right.
You have to be uber passionate or just know that is going to make you a shit ton of money. And this is not going to make us a shit ton of money now. Down the line. But just the passion and the belief is there because there isn't something that's on the market. And Cliff did that to Power Bar in whatever, the early 90s. Power Bar was the only energy bar on the market, and it was terrible. And Cliff was like, you know what? We're going to change this. Gary Erickson was like, nope, we're going to change this up. And this is what Athletic Brewing's doing to the beer market, right? They're like one of the top 10 beers, craft beers in the world now.
Crazy.
As a non-alcoholic craft beer.
I like that.
And the thing about them, the reason why they're so successful is because they have always maintained that the product must be amazing. And for me, there's no compromise on product. So whatever decisions we make in the future for margins, for locations, for whatever, the product always has to be amazing. And that comes back to like how our team, if we can stand behind this product. So I know it has legs. I know it has potential. We just haven't quite hit that like thing that's going to just get us that momentum that we need, because I think people feel it. Like people who get it.
Totally.
And so we just got to find some like way of escalating that.
Yeah. It's interesting from my perspective because like I see different things than you see, obviously, which makes us an interesting team. But like, I was showing my fiance the Google search analytics from Google, and it's like, look at this. This is over the last year of like what's been going on through Google on Seven Summit Snacks. I'm like, if you look at these numbers, I'm like, if you bought a business that had this to start, like you would be laughing because it's
I don't know these things.
It's just like the amount of like impressions, your click-through rate, like the amount of people flowing into this website through Google is like, wow, we really do have a solid foundation here.
That's
right?
Great to know.
I think the challenge is just obviously, maybe when you're dealing in a product like chocolate that like, okay, like world markets, premium, like, you know, like it's not the greatest margin, which is where like, I guess the challenge I have to the organization is just like chocolate is your foundation, but like I think what company has really mastered like a broader range of just snacks and like that sort of thing, like the ones that are out there are like candy, right? Like you got lots of candy options, or you got like Cliff Bars, like this is our focus, or you had BioSteel, who is a great example of what you probably shouldn't do, even though they went huge and then busted. But it's like beverages only that like, I do think that Seven Summit Snacks has the potential to like, I called you Mrs. Willy Wonka, like basically, because chocolate is your foundation.
Yeah.
But I think beyond that foundation is just building products that you can stand behind. That like, as it continues to grow, finding those things that fit within the ecosystem.
Definitely.
That may not be anchored to like a commodity like chocolate. That like is, oh, okay, like
totally.
This is there. So
yeah, for me, I strongly feel like chocolate will always be the hero ingredient. Doesn't need to be the only ingredient by any means. And I think like before I came, I was working on a project proposal for a new product that we want to launch. That chocolate will be a minor ingredient in it, but the delight that chocolate, it'll have enough of it there that it's going to bring impact to people in the warm, delicious way that brings people together with chocolate. So for me, I feel like there needs to be a chocolate entity to the products that we're making.
Like a chocolate dipped fruit leather?
It could be.
Because I know
Tom's in on the fruit leather aspect of it. We can brainstorm that.
Yeah. Like I really want to figure this out, how to fit it into our umbrella. Yeah. Only because like I think it just brings a totally different there was this thing in machine learning where the conversation, it's always like, what's better, this or that?
Sure.
And it's not really that conversation. It's when is this better?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, like, absolutely.
The chocolate versus no, like you're about to go do this. Like you need some fruit leather, right? Like,
for sure. Yeah.
No, not at all. Like you need an antioxidant tea to like replenish all of the stuff in you, which as you know, I keep throwing ideas of like, we've got some partners that are coffee, and I'm like, maybe we should start thinking about like bringing some of these things under the umbrella of it, because it's like, okay, like there's probably different coffee beans from all over the world that like, if we just build that brand that is like, we understand snacking and fueling whatever it is you need to do, whether you're going to go do a triathlon, whether you're training and you just want to go to spin class and have a little snack, whether you're me and you just spend all your time in front of computers working or playing video games or doing whatever, and I just want some focus and a delicious snack, right? Like snacking is pretty universal in the fact that like people in between their meals like to like very fundamental, like find things to just snack on. And it's like, figuring out how we become their choice of snack.
For sure.
Even though, it may not be in all the time, but we're even learning about like with the superfood bar where it's like, okay, one bar, you just chip away at it throughout the day and it's good like that, right?
So. And I think I agree that, delicious snacking, second pillar. Absolutely. What and how that looks like, TBD. And I think the thing I struggle with, because I think between you, Leanna, and myself, we have no shortages of ideas in this company. It's got to rein it in, and we got to just get the money rolling in. And once that money's rolling in, we can differentiate. We can try a seasonal thing that's different that we haven't tried before under the brand anchor, and we use that as a test to see like, hey, maybe this is going to be a moneymaker for us or a different stream. And I think for me, it's still like, let's just keep it going with the two products we have right now. And once we can get this going, then absolutely let's branch out. So I'm not going to say no to your fruit leather.
Okay. I appreciate that. Like that I had to bring you on a podcast to like.
Normally I just roll my eyes at that, but I won't say no.
She won't say no officially. We're working on it. Maybe a 2 to 3 year plan. I guess. Take me into the science of snacking and what you've learned about just fueling people.
So I think I love it. So my history working with Mondelez before I was working in the global research and development team, I was exposed to all sorts of types of research that allowed us to understand the consumer, the reasons why they might choose a snack at a certain time of day, how to ask those questions of people, and just really understand the psychology behind what's going on. And like you were just saying literally before, you're like, when you're going to eat it, why you're going to eat it, right? So I like understanding that in the first place. And so we created two different products to offer two different occasions. And that came because Leanna, again, the genesis of the brand and the idea, Leanna was like, hey, I want to eat chocolate while I'm training, but I also want really delicious ingredients that I understand chocolate with a hiker on the package for when I have my wine at bedtime. And so I was like, okay, well, those are two different things that you're asking for. So that's why we have the two products that we started with. So understanding like what kind of products should show up for, again, that evening reset that we've talked about a couple times now, where you're trying to like mentally escape a little bit. It's supposed to be just like all enveloping, but it needs to deliver on taste. You want it to be clean label. You want it to be like good for the planet, like some more of these soft credentials, versus I need chocolate to do, or I need a snack to do this task.
Right.
The psychology that's going on between that is completely different. And so how the product shows up, how it should melt in your mouth is different to that other occasion. And that's where some of the science comes into it. And choices of ingredients and packaging and product design and all of that. So what we have considered for this 30-gram bar is things like the weight of the product so that it can deliver enough energy for about an hour. So the recipe is going to melt in your mouth faster than just a typical dark chocolate bar, because when people are being active, they don't always want to chew. So it's going to be able to melt in your mouth faster than a regular chocolate, or like
or it will
fruit
melt
leather, or
while it's in your waistband.
Exactly.
And just slurp it down.
Slurp it back. The types of ingredients that we chose as well. So we have honey in our 30-gram bar, but I wouldn't put that in my big bar, because the big one, again, it's the people who are choosing that are looking for that pure, unadulterated chocolate, and you put honey in there and it's going to mess up the consistency a little bit. And again, people are they want that cocoa-rich impact at night. For, again, when they're training, they just want it to taste like chocolate. They don't care how dark the chocolate is.
I love the honey, to be honest, because I'm like, I feel like it's probably like honey is the superfood.
Yeah, it is. It is. Honey is a superfood. And then like honey versus using maple versus using agave versus using just high fructose corn syrup.
Totally.
Like there's a conscious and scientific choice that went into that based on the composition of it, so that the bar could still look and feel like it does today.
I would like to talk about high fructose corn syrup.
Sure.
Like, what does that do to the body, if you could explain that to me? Like,
so fructose in general, which honey does have a lot of fructose in it, but it's not pure fructose like high fructose corn syrup is. It is digested in a different way that kind of shoots around the path of the way your insulin is released. So there's like a traditional path in which your insulin is released based on like a complex diet, but having like a pure source of fructose, it like bypasses this one mechanism in your body that then so then your body isn't really sure what it's digesting, or it digests a little bit later.
Okay.
At a different point in time to which glucose or regular sugar would be digested. So it's kind of the simple way.
So it like sits in you a bit?
It will just take a little bit longer before it starts to digest, because when you eat something, the first thing that your body is going to digest is glucose, which is coming from sucrose, just as the sugar. Yeah, anything that's in a glucose format, it's going to digest first, because that's what on a basic level, your brain, your muscles, that's the energy source, the most efficient energy source. Then it goes down the list of carbohydrates that's sitting in your tummy, and so then it'll go to fructose. For high fructose corn syrup being just a concentration of fructose, and only fructose. And then it'll start to break down starches. So if you've got like easy potato starch, which is just lots of glucose that's stuck together, then that'll digest first because it's nice and easy, versus like having a whole meal piece of toast, which you've got grains, you got to get around the fiber, like there's just a lot more to like digest. So then once your body's done digesting all that, then it'll start to work on proteins, breaking down the proteins to amino acids. Then it uses those amino acids. If you still need glucose, then it's going to go and start to break down and maybe rearrange those amino acids into glucose again, so your body can use. And then eventually it'll get to using the fat that's left over from everything else. So it's quite a complex process of and hierarchy of ways that your body is going to digest things.
So then obviously the endurance bar probably more specifically is designed based on that journey of your body breaking down nutrients and saying, hey, like, I need that quick sugar. Yeah. Give it to me. Yeah. But my fats, they're gonna be needed.
They're gonna be bumping around. Yeah, they're gonna be bumping around for when you really need them.
Like 30 minutes to 45 minutes from now, after the sugar is burnt off, like now we're good. And I think this is an avenue to explore, because even just hearing you talk about it, I think like once you start to understand what your body is doing with these things, then now I can make a better decision about it, because I guess the follow-up question to fructose is, what happens if you have too much? And like, you know, like, it's a word that's a dirty word in a lot of places, corn syrup, right?
I think corn syrup on a whole is not seen very well, for the reason of, often in North America, it's coming from like a genetically modified source, which has no implications on your health. I'm just going to put that out there. Okay. So there's that negativity cast over in the first place. Then on top of it, usually it's used as a filler because it's a cheap ingredient. So it's used as a filler to remove other, maybe better nutrients from the product that you're creating. And so you're putting something with very low nutrient value into a product. So
and why would they be doing this generally?
Cost, usually. Margins? Cost, yeah. So I would absolutely, if it was more important for us to sell a shit ton of 7 Summit Snacks bars, I might use corn syrup rather than honey, because it's going to be a fraction of the cost. Would maybe do the same thing to the consumer, and I could choose their ingredient wisely to do that, but they're going to get the same energy profile. But one, it's generally just not regarded by our community, who's a little bit more healthful than the average Joe. And two, it's just like, the cost is just going to be that much less. So I'm
just going to get in on that, because I think that is the product, right? Like it's not about just making money. Like, obviously money fuels this growth. Absolutely. And I just really want people to understand that, like, the 5-year sacrifice you've already made to not really make a ton of, like, the business has made money, and it's like growing quite well, doubling every year. And to not be like, okay, like I want to withdraw some cash from this, so I'm just going to kind of sell my soul here to the high fructose corn syrup gods.
Exactly. And it's a decision we have to make. Absolutely.
So I think people need to, like, really understand that, like, your commitment to that integrity. Yeah. And true. Like, no, like, we're going to do this with the honey, even though the bees are under attack. Like, we're going to make sure that they're getting the treatment
I should make it high fructose corn syrup, because it'd be vegan then.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the better option?
Totally. Like, would you rather
a vegan bar with high fructose corn syrup in it, or it to have the honey with a little bit more warm and friendly ingredients in it? I should ask the consumers that.
Yeah, like, we're gonna work this split, and people are gonna, because I think that's important to know. Like,
super important.
Like, there are all these trade-offs in building a business, right?
Absolutely.
And I think the commitment to making sure your product is actually doing what it's supposed to do, rather than, like, I hate to throw BioSteel under the bus, but like, they're
natural flavors, natural colors, and like, clearly they weren't.
Clean, healthy, hydrate. And it's like, okay, but like, let's peel back the onion just a little bit and realize, like, there's all these things. Like, I don't know, but everything based on my experience talking to people, it's like anything that has like 6 syllables in it, as soon as that's on the ingredient list, like, I'm immediately like, what's going on here? Exactly. Even though, like, maybe when you get into the no, I guess not. I'm not even going to say that, because it'll make me look like an asshole.
It's all good. But here, I can deflect that a little bit.
Cool.
And just be really transparent. We still have sugar in our products. We have to, because sugar is the foundation of chocolate. So again, for me, I'm prioritizing great tasting product, which has sugar in it. Regular old white table sugar.
Totally.
So like, even though the chocolate is ethically sourced, and we make sure that there's like social programs in place from the chocolates that we're purchasing, it still has sugar in it, because at the end of the day, we created this product to be functional energy. And where does that energy come from? It comes from glucose. So glucose and sucrose, or glucose and fructose, part of sucrose, which is white sugar, that's going to give you your energy in an effective way. And again, It's like to use coconut sugar or agave sugar, or again, like the ones that sound fancier on the label, it's still sucrose at the end of the day. It might just not be as refined. So your body's still going to digest it in exactly the same way. It's not going to give it any funky flavors or textures. It's just going to give you that reliability from the chocolate that you really expect. So there you go.
I like that. Because sugar is another one that gets dirty reputation.
But
it's like, maybe if you were to crush an entire box of them and just go to bed.
Exactly. That's my problem that I have with people.
Then, sugar is bad for you. But my entire life, I've never really had an issue with the idea of consuming sugar because I'm like, I'm going, right? And like, the way I was always educated is like, sugar's fine as long as you use it.
Yeah, use it. Yeah.
Otherwise, it then gets stored.
Exactly.
And you don't want that.
No.
And it's, again, the sugar content, what is it? Like, I don't have...
It's like 16 grams.
16 grams.
Max.
So it's about a quarter of what a can of Coke would be looking like at the 53 grams of sugar,
there you go.
right? So it's like, it's really marginal when you think of it.
Yeah.
It's incredibly crafted.
And coming back to the positioning of it, we are suggesting that you have our bars in a fueling state.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use fueling state because, yes, we're trying to convince people that they should eat these while they're literally doing activity.
Yeah.
But there's that snacking moment for someone like yourself who are like, hey, I'm in between meals. I need something that's actually going to sustain me and be rewarding at the end of the day. So I call those our smart calorie consumers, because it's like, okay, I feel good about this as a product.
Yeah.
Because again, ethically sourced, high quality, delicious, satiating, and because of the quality of the nutrients, you're getting those extra nutrients versus just having, again, honey has a little bit of extra goodness to it because it's a natural product. Our berries, natural products. So you're getting extra vitamins and minerals versus just having that high fructose corn syrup or just having something that has a strawberry flavor in it rather than actual strawberry in it. So
yeah, it's kind of I don't know what it is in vegetables and other things where it's there's the amino acids that are precursor protein building blocks, right? But it's if you just eat that alone, but maybe when you start to combine it with these other things, then you get the real benefits because it's these things that we talk about are generally the end product of it, but there's a whole science of cells and other things that are beneath all of that I think obviously what we're trying to do is make sure everyone understands that you really know this because
it's true.
There's a lot of energy and time that you've spent in your life understanding this that I feel like people need to really appreciate.
Thanks.
That Kristyn you're a scientist of chocolate varieties and food health, everything. I think you really get it. And it's just knowing that what's in here has all the precursor building blocks for what you truly do need.
Yeah.
And some of those include those things that you would be sugar. But no, you need sugar to fuel it. I need it because my brain, I don't know how many calories a day your brain consumes. But
I should know that, but
all of the things I'm thinking about do require it, and sugar.
I want to say it's 60% of your basal metabolic rate. So if you need 1,300 calories in a day, 60% of that is going to your brain.
It's 800
there
calories. You go. Just brain burning.
Just brain carbs.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So
it's
800 calories divided by 4 is 200 grams of carbohydrates is what your body needs. Your brain needs.
I don't know if you ever knew this about me because part of the journey today was try to learn something new about each other.
Yeah.
And at one point I did become a personal trainer.
Oh, I had no idea.
So I kind of understand
lurking
this
in the
stuff.
background.
Yeah, absolutely lurking in the background once when I was a fit person that was doing my thing. And it was always interesting, calculating what your macros should be based on what you're trying to do, your protein, fats, carbs, because it's very simple. Obviously, there's better carbs and different types of carbs. And, obviously different fats, trans fats, saturated fats. I don't know them all, but it is a crazy world to navigate as I don't know, just this whole Robert Kennedy trying to clean up America's food thing. It really makes you start to think about profit versus product, right?
Exactly.
How do we? And obviously, things are more expensive when you're focused on product, but I think it's interesting, and like how do we get to the point where we're calculating the cost benefit analysis of some of this stuff, right?
Yeah,
and like,
how do you even do that? That's like, what is the cost benefit? I'm actually like really hung up now about why we wouldn't put corn syrup in our bars from a profit perspective. Like, I would love to know that now. I'm gonna go home and calculate that to see what the price change. And then again, but then there's the benefit analysis. Now, okay, I wouldn't do it because again, we're trying to.
I think you should though. I think I actually.
No, I wouldn't. I'm going to do the exercise. Yeah. I'm not going to do it in the product.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to do it in the product. I am going to run the exercise.
Totally.
To see what that cost is.
Yeah.
And then again, it's like, well, actually now if I open up access to the purely vegan market now because of that, what does that look like versus what we've got right now?
Totally. And
it's like literally mind-blowing me, right?
From a science perspective of the clean, good nutrients versus the quick win, easy, better for margins would be, I know 7 Summits, we've been doing business with the NHL a little bit, some teams there, and I think obviously, we love the Oilers.
Yeah, we do, of course. McDavid. But the Jets are top of the league on our bars.
Jets, Winnipeg Jets have I think of all the teams, like there's 5 or 6 Canadian teams that are on the program of some variety. Yeah. But the Jets seem to have like leaned into it. Yeah. Where like you're talking to the trainer and he's like, no, like people are loving these, and
absolutely.
We've talked about this not on the podcast of how like I really want to try to leverage that for some scientific study.
Oh yeah.
And I think maybe this could be it, right? Yeah. Like let's make some bars that have high fructose corn syrup in it. Yeah. The clean traditional bar. Yeah. Do a blind sample. Yeah. Of like some sort of Winnipeg Jets like inner team scrimmage and like dole out the bars to each side, and like nobody knows which one they got, whether it's the corn syrup one or like the pure clean energy. The only challenge I have is like, what are our KPIs? Yeah. Right? Like, I think there's like maybe, I don't know food science exactly, but I'm just thinking like maybe lactic acid buildup, or like there's a few things that maybe could affect someone, like their ability, I don't know where oxygen, your ability to like VO2 max, or like, you know, if you have the right things in you. But if we could somehow figure out like, here are a few metrics that we should do, or like, heart rate, blood sugar, like, you know, like what does your heart do on honey versus high fructose corn syrup, right? Like, do you have more fluctuations? Do you recover quicker, right? Like, how do we do that? But I think that would be a crazy study. Yeah. It'd be wild if the study came out and it was like, high fructose corn syrup is actually better, right? Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. It would but like, I don't know. It could. Who knows? Could be. Might be a non-factor with athletes like that. But I think it's interesting to find a way to do the study. And I'm like, over our next 6 months, this is one of the things that I'd like to do, because I think if we could somehow quantify the benefit, the performance benefit. I know I've been like 4 years ago, I tried to pitch projects to the U of A in their nutrition team, because the nutrition students need to do capstone course. And I wanted to do on sports nutrition and like people to measure the benefit of fueling with a higher fat product versus a purely based carbohydrate. And it's just never been picked up. But I've also not pitched it to other universities either. And it's one of those things, it's like we talk about it, but it's like, how do we make it happen? And it's, again, the trade-offs of when you have that little time. Yes, it's important, because we do get the question on several times a year of like, oh, do you have scientific proof? And I'd love to be able to show that at some point, but it's like, I can't fund a fully funded project on that. But if the university wants to pick it up, I will give you all the product you possibly need and help you design the study. So. And part of it just might be like structuring it to the point where like it's attractive to them. Yeah. Where like, Winnipeg, I wish I knew the Winnipeg Jets trainer's name, because we'd give him a shout out. Right? Yeah. You can give him a shout out if you know him.
I can't think of it right now.
We'll give it a second. You can look it up. Yeah,
I'm like, thanks.
We're allowed to.
We're allowed to. I'm like, this is live. Like, I know. I was like,
I need to figure out how to rig up this TV so we can start show and telling. That's
love
the next.
It. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Point the thing. Jets. Oh, that's Hets. Jets. Bradshaw. Bradshaw's our dude.
Shout out Bradshaw. Yeah, it'd be. Like, it's just dragging people into the conversation and being like, hey, like, how do you think we could do this, right? Yeah,
like, true.
I'm not the expert. I just know that like we're slowly circling around this idea of like getting that data, because it is interesting to me that the people that are leaning into it the most are doing the best, right? And like the whole idea of this brand is built on the idea that snacks can have an impact, right? Like the right snack will take you places, and it's like, oh, like it's happening.
And it could even be that it's just perceived benefit, which is what is amazing about chocolate, because the mental, just the mental connection people have with chocolate is different to a strictly functional snack. So it's another layer, another level, and that's been around for thousands of years. Like armies fuel on chocolate because A, it's functional, and B, it's good for morale. Like Leanna told me a story, or just like messaged me on the weekend, and she was like, Adeline, her daughter, was like, hey mom, I learned that they gave chocolate in the war as medicine. Like, exactly. You're like, I know. Yeah. So why
get your chocolate and your cigarettes and get out there.
Exactly.
No, I agree. Like, we have that article on the website that talks about how, that evolution of chocolate, how warriors were the ones taking it. Like, and we're all warriors in our own way, right? Whether you're momming or you're trying to build a company, or you're just
like struggling with life,
trying to hit your KPIs at work, or trying to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and like you got kicked on your ass and now you need to get back up. We're coming to the end here of our journey. I guess I wanted to leave you some room to like, I noticed you're glitching over here, so I hope it's just going to keep recording. Otherwise, we're going to be minimizing our angle switching for the podcast. No, but I guess, is there anything on your radar?
I think for us, it's just that fundraiser right now. Like, we need money. Someone messaged me earlier this year, like 2 weeks ago. It's an entrepreneur friend. And he was like, how'd it go? And I'm like, well, I started this year with no chocolate, no money, and plans on launching in the US. So, like, not the greatest. But like that fundraise is important for us.
So how would someone...
reach out. People who are believers that chocolate is the answer can reach out through our website, find me on LinkedIn, find Tom on LinkedIn, put a comment in your... on the YouTubes. We need some money to get this going.
And I would say sometimes it's not even if chocolate is the answer. I think it's like you're the answer. Like really, that's what and a little bit of me and Jason and Leanne, like all of us. But like you are our leader, and in you we trust. And I think if anyone is looking to put some money into a business, like you've put a lot of thought into how this is structured in a way to make it equitable for everyone on the journey to hopefully 5 million in sales at some point here in the next 5 years. And anything else in the world minus like aside from Seven Summit Snacks?
What's happening in the world? I think it's interesting. Again, things are serendipitous sometimes. Like, when I started this company, I knew it was not going to be just a Canadian company, because the Canadian market is so niche and small. And so the fact of what is happening with the U.S., Canada-U.S. relations doesn't scare me, because the market opportunity is just so big there. So we ended up finding a factory that's going to help us. We can keep the whole... I have a friend who moved her family down there at the beginning of the year to open up a warehouse. Like, a girl that I met through, or a lady that I met through a previous like cohort where we were sponsored, like, she's happy to join our team. So I feel like all the pieces have come in place to make the US launch still happen, and I think I just want to like lean into that. And then we went to the UK, and same thing. It's like I tried to push that UK trip off so hard because I wasn't mentally ready to go, because again, no money, like I have no time to put into launching there. And we had it covered by a grant, so we're like, let's just go and talk to people. And I'm so glad that we did, again, with Isaac barfing on me while I'm talking to people. And
I think that helps people understand how bad you want to like bring this into the world.
Like we have an email list of 200 people in the UK who don't want to fuel with gels and don't want to fuel with flapjacks. So they're like, hey, what do you got that's different? Your brand is enticing to us. And we're like, here, try this chocolate. And then again, it's like, oh, this is good.
Yeah.
So I think that it kind of like made it a little less scary. So sometimes, and this is what I find, when I like really throw the walls up on things, if things that I need to keep doing, just like, it just keeps knocking. Like you said, sometimes like you throw an idea, you have this idea, if it just keeps coming back and you can't get rid of it, it's like, okay, well, I think this is something that I need to pursue. And so that's what the UK is looking like for me. I have a good network of people there. Again, it should be a no-brainer for us. I lived there for 8 years. I know the market. Totally. I have connections in the chocolate manufacturing industry there. Like, yeah, I think it's going to work. So.
Yeah, it just comes down to getting those people to invest the money so that we can, like I tell everyone when it comes to this, it's like we just need to hit critical mass, right?
Absolutely.
Because it's like once you hit a certain level, you're ordering enough packaging, you're ordering enough cocoa beans, you're ordering enough everything that now all of a sudden you have margin without having to go the dirty back road tricks of corn syrup and doing that stuff, right? Which, if nothing else, people should appreciate the journey of like, this is a triathlon in more ways than one.
This is an Ironman.
Like,
like, Ultraman, I don't know. It's like hardcore.
Trying to do it the right way so that at the end of it, it's like you have a product and a brand that you're proud of. Yeah, absolutely. Right? And I think that's...
And I fully stand behind this product, brand.
Totally.
What we've built, like, as a whole team. And so I truly believe in it.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Tom.
Appreciate it. We'll be back for more because this is going to... I want to dive deeper into the science of how our body does all this stuff. Okay. So like you can have a little prep time because
I was going to say, give me some prep because just so I can like... I could have named those pathways for you if I'd need to just like jog my memory on it, but...
You don't want to be getting attacked in the comments or like
that's not right.
Me putting the sheet in front of you a minute before recording, if that, maybe even 30 seconds, and saying, hey, come on down. But yeah, everybody go like, follow 7 Summits, all the platforms. We're going to be launching some YouTube, or this was kind of get you in here seeing how I'm cooking it up. So
it's great.
you can cook it up because I think, getting into all of this stuff and having these conversations in a way, like I feel like people appreciate it, where I just know from my perspective, there's a lot of things that go on in my mind that like are intuitive to me. Yeah,
that's the thing, right?
But then it's like, oh, I need to communicate this to the others. And that's basically why we're here doing this is because, I'm like, I have to do this at some point or another in some way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
And we're just going to start blasting YouTube.
And I think it's like also important, and I love that you've shared that as a platform and the successes you're having, because two things that I'm trying to do this year is simplify. When it comes down to the manufacturing, like my goal of self-manufacturing was this shiny, wondrous factory, and then I was like, with the crunch we're having right now, I was like, what's my one key piece of equipment I need? Like, I just need a tempering machine. Can we make this business model work in a space this big with just that machine? And we can. And so it's like, okay, and the same with YouTube. It's like, we got to do YouTube. So it's not production values. It's not whatever. It's just like, get it done.
Yeah.
And so
figure it out.
Yeah.
And then optimize.
Yeah.
As you go,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Like and grow so you have a wonderful person like Cam who can do all that work for you.
Totally. Isn't that a treat?
It's so wonderful.
Cool. Okay. Well, awesome. We'll be back here again soon.